Hey everybody, happy last week of class. It's been a doozy for me. I did 2 classes at Oklahoma and then 1 class at another school, and I finished there next week. So 3 is too many when working full time, but I hope you're all doing well, and I've enjoyed watching all of your videos. I'm going to be focusing on method acting and rethinking Stanislavski. So in terms of the American method, I was thinking a lot about I'm just reading a lot about the conflict over the origins of group theater, especially between the originators, even like conflicting opinions about what the goals were. But I just thought that was sort of interesting, looking back at history, that there were different perspectives of what the original intentions were. But the idea that meaning isn't fixed, it's interpreted, was something I was really thinking a lot about, especially as a director. So Stanislavski considered the idea that different interpretations of plays and performances, and that sometimes those things could get lost in translation and in politics between different languages and different areas. I thought that was really interesting. And in one of my other theater classes, we were doing the House of Bernarda Alba, and I actually had to buy the book twice because of different translations had some very different emotions and intentions behind it, even different character names. So it was kind of interesting. Let's see. But yeah, I think some of the conflicting criticism, I think comes from some of that misinterpretation, especially when you're thinking about different countries and, different languages and maybe misinterpreting some of the goals. But I thought that was really interesting. So this all made me think about, how shows can also, have different interpretations and maybe become more relevant over time. When you look at them through different lenses, if different things are happening politically, or maybe you're in a different area. As I'm picking shows to do, often there's shows that were so pure and innocent, years ago, that definitely don't feel that way. Now looking through a new lens. So I was thinking about that a lot during the reading. Okay. So I think I'm going to focus kind of on some of my 3 big takeaways from the reading. So I was thinking about, when I'm directing actors, thinking about using method acting if I ever were to do that, or anything inspired by method acting. I think it's really helpful to understand how this works. Actors really have to go deep emotionally, and they have to take the process really seriously. So I was thinking about different things I should keep in mind in my work with them. And in the reading, one thing that jumped out is that the actor is really in 2 places at once. They're not only living the role emotionally, but they're still aware, but they're also still aware that they're on stage or in front of a camera. So it's like they're half in the scene and also half watching themselves. So it's not just about becoming the character, it's about managing that balance. And as a director, I can definitely support them by respecting that they're juggling both of these things at one time. It makes me think about how, as a director, my role is largely to be the interpreter for the audience, to be that eye looking the way the audience would and making sure that everything connects. I was thinking about how the actors are more than just performers. They're really creative partners. And it's really making me reconsider some of my directing. I feel like generally I walk into rehearsals with every single thing planned out, and maybe that's not as necessary. Just checking the time. Maybe that's not as necessary. Maybe I can, lean on the actors more. I actually usually feel guilty when I do that, when I'm like, ooh, I didn't really plan this part. What do you think? But I think, I probably should be asking them that more. Maybe I don't need to be looking back to see maybe where that exit was. Maybe when we start working on the scene, I can say, okay, so where did you go out last time? What feels right here? What fits? Maybe I can make them more a part of the process. That actually might make my own job easier by letting them really be creative partners. They shouldn't just follow instructions. They should really be bringing their own ideas and experiences and points of view to the role. Sometimes they could even shape a character in ways that I might not expect. So that's a good thing. And it means that I'm not directing at them. I'm really working with them to build something. And I think that's something I want to try to think of a little bit more. My third and final idea is that truth doesn't always have to look realistic. When actors talk about truth, it doesn't always mean that it has to feel like real life. Sometimes, it's about what feels honest to the actor, what's good for them in that moment, even if it might be something abstract that they've assigned to that emotion or something that they've stylized. But it's really my job as a director or like an acting teacher to help them find that kind of truth, even if it doesn't always look the way that I imagined it. It's more powerful, if it's coming from the actor. So those were my big takeaways. In short, thinking about working with these kind of actors, it really means being open and flexible and curious. And maybe it means that I need to be like a little bit more less. I think I'm always flexible, but maybe I don't have to be quite as planful all the time. If I really want to, use some of this in my work with actors. They have to have their own way in, to the role. And as directors, we need to respect that and be open to it. All right, I think that's it. And I will see you guys maybe in another class. Take care. Have a great summer. Bye-bye.